Welcome back, guys. Now today we'll be talking about whether the Mirage F-1 is worth the grind. Now before we do that, make sure to put the subscribe button on a one-way ticket to Miami, but actually send him to Oklahoma. Also, fellow F-1 Mirage owners, tell me what you guys think about this aircraft down in the comments down below. I'd really like to know. Now a lot of people have been anticipating the Mirage F-1 to be added to the game. This is why we will be conducting RB and Sim. We'll be showing how this aircraft performs in both those game modes. And this is faster than the Mirage 3E and 3C, so that is something to note. Now, this does come with the Magic 2 air-to-air missiles, which Gaijin did say they weren't going to add, and then they said they were. But now they're here. So we have the all-aspect Magic 2s and the 530F, which is a pretty decent missile, at least stat-wise. And then, of course, we have the normal 530, which has the radar cone, and I believe you can put the IR cone on it too. Now, this does come with a ton of countermeasures that you could dump out, so I suggest bringing a mixed payload since you can carry so many. Although these countermeasure pods are quite big, so they will hinder the performance of the aircraft as per the usual, just like the mold. But, you know, countermeasures are kind of necessary in WarThunder's current meta. And yes, I called it the mold, not Big 23 MLD. How does this aircraft perform in RB? Well, it's pretty decent, but it's nothing insane. You see here, the Magic still manages to hit its target, but in this battle right here, I'm like, okay, I'll get a head-on lock, saying the probability's not that high, and this dude, he starts to notch, and it just screws up my radar, and he goes low towards the ground, and the 530F just veers off. But luckily here, I'm able to get my guns on and strike him there. But the Magics are really what... You can see I launch a Magic on this J7E, and he's pretty far, and it seems to track and hit him. Now, he didn't flare, but he didn't see it coming, and it slapped him right in the back. Now, this match in particular was amazing because, well, I was basically fighting 1v5. No, 2v5. There was another teammate. You can see here I launch my Magic. It slams him even though he's flaring. So these do have a little bit of flare resistancy. Now, the best way I like to use the Magics or any weapon on this aircraft is in head-ons, especially the 530s, because, well, they don't do too well. So in a head-on, it's basically dumbfire and hoping they hit. And the maneuverability of this aircraft isn't the best. I mean, an F-4E could dogfight this thing. Given an experienced pilot, an F-4E could probably kill this thing. But you can see here I pop out my air brakes, try to make him overshoot, and it is pretty tough. Luckily, this guy does overshoot in his MiG-21, and I turn back on his 6, but unfortunately, he is too far. You can see here, it's just, I don't know, the engine, the acceleration on this thing, it's really not the best. But luckily, this guy decides to turn around. I Fox, it slams him right in the head. So, you know, it does do pretty good, and that was a 530, mind you. You can see here, I start to go low to the ground, so it screws up his radar in missile, and it misses. And this F-4EJ is like, all right, you know what, time to dogfight. And, you know, he's actually holding his own against an F-1 Mirage, and that's because this thing's maneuverability isn't that good. You can see right there, the Vigan would have had him no problem. The MLD probably would have killed this guy a lot sooner, but this thing's max AOA isn't the best, and its turn rate isn't the best. It does have decent acceleration, at least for a Mirage, but it's nothing special. But luckily, I'm still able to outmaneuver this F-4EJ Kai and burnt his tail off. And mind you, the F-4EJ Kai isn't a maneuverable Phantom, and it's actually less maneuverable. But I'm able to land, score 4 kills, and there's one more. This F-4F is, but, you know, I didn't know that, so I was like, crap, I just see tracers. I'm assuming he has gun pods, but you never know. He could have missiles. I wasn't sure, so I was like, you know what? Okay, I'll go for the vertical. I'll try it. I'll pre-flare just in case he does have missiles. And you can see his nose starts to get onto my 6. And around here, he starts to launch his missile, which I wasn't sure if he had one, because I thought he was carrying a gun pod in the merge. But I don't think he was. I think he was just spraying his gun everywhere, and it just looked like multiple. But yes, you can see the missile misses. I'm able to lock onto him, box to him, and kill him, and that scores a full-on victory. 5 kills, 2v5. So this aircraft does have a lot of potential, but its radar isn't the best. I mean, look here, you could just see, just dumps one shaft and flare, and the thing just freaks out and has a seizure. But in other cases, you can launch missiles in a head-on, and it would kill them. Also, I ripped that match and was still able to land the bird with 1 wing and 1 elevator. So yeah, it's you know, very survivable. I guess that's something good about it. You know, you never know when you have to land with one wing. But yes, I suggest going in head-ons, launching your missiles, and just hoping they hit. You can see there it tracked just fine because he's over the horizon. He wasn't really doing evasive maneuvers, and in those scenarios, the missile will likely hit. And then here you could see that the radar missile strikes another aircraft in F5, which is basically a tank. That's why he's still alive, but he eventually dies, and we have a victory parade, and everybody's happy. You see here I launch, the magic just fails, so I switch to guns, and boom, perfect lead, and he dies. And then I do the same thing on this A7. The guns are actually quite reliable in this aircraft. I'm a fan of the 30mm, the Defas and Aidens, so I really don't have a problem with them on this aircraft. You just basically spray and pray and hope the rounds hit, and they work pretty well. You can see here another head-on kill, which is, again, the primary way I use this thing. Like the radar missiles, I almost always use them in head-ons, or the guns, of course. But the radar missiles particularly because they have horrible track. You just lob them off, bam, hits them right in the face. There's really nothing they can do with maneuvering, etc. Also, the Magic 2s are also all aspect 2, so you can launch those in the head-on and kill your opponents that way. Just to, you know, instead of using the 30mm, because they do work, but it's very risky. You see I get damaged here and I'm too slow, and I get killed. So yeah, overall, I mean, it's a pretty decent aircraft in RB. It's definitely not the top dog, but it's not the worst thing in the world. So after getting used to, it feels like a pretty decent aircraft. Now, in terms of sim, if you fly this thing like a Phantom, where you're playing passive, you try not to get into too many dogfights, this thing will excel extremely. Because, yes, this is more maneuverable than the F-4E, and it could outmaneuver all the Phantoms, in fact, but it still lacks in maneuverability. So you want to play this thing safe, try to keep your distance when you're on someone's 6, and try not to get too close or into rolling scissors and all that. You want to play passive, stay far, use your radar guided missiles at range. You know, you don't really want to get into a duel with a Viggen. You know, you want to kill him either without him knowing you're there or at far range. But luckily here I'm fighting a bunch of Phantoms and A10s, so there's really no competition besides the F5. The F5 will wipe the floor with this thing. But you just have to go faster, right? So fly it like a Phantom, fly high, dive on your opponents, keep your speed, try not to bleed too much, sneak up on people and kill them and get out of the area, because, you know, once someone dies, everybody knows where an aircraft is falling. So kill your targets quick and get out. You can see here I go into a slight little dogfight, so I'm like, alright, I'm going to extend out, and he starts rolling around. I think he loses me around here, so I'm like, oh, okay, I could just slot in back on his 6. And yeah, I mean, if they commit into a dogfight, if the A10s commit into a dogfight, they could give this bird a hard time, but for some reason they are not committing into a dogfight. All they would have to do is just to keep turning, and to counter that, I would just fly vertical, of course. But you can see right here, this is an F4E, and I'm trying to pull lead on him, trying to dogfight this dude. He's pulling all the right moves. I get a lock, the magic fails to track him. Well, it tracks him, but, you know, it didn't pull hard enough. You can see his AOA and pull is almost similar to mine. I just have a slight edge on him and are able to eventually kill him. But you can see he's holding up fairly well in a Phantom versus an F1 Mirage. So this is not going to maneuver like the Mirage 3C or the Mirage 3E. So that's what I'm saying. If you play it like a Phantom, you're going to excel, because you're slightly more maneuverable than a Phantom, which is extremely good. So, you know, just play it like a Phantom, stay far, don't commit to a dogfight too long, especially if it's an aircraft you know will outmaneuver you, especially like an MLD or Viggen. Those aircraft, or even a J7, they will wipe the floor with you. So try to kill your targets as stealthy as possible, and if that doesn't work, then try to extend the fight. You can see here, just hurt the guy in the back, and a lot of these kills are stealthy kills where I'm on their 6. I think there was a couple times where I had to go defensive in this, but for the most part I was basically sneaking up on people, killing them, and then full throttling it out of the AO. And I highly suggest you guys do this too, because it is low risk and high reward. So with that being said, is this aircraft worth the grind? Well, I mean, you can see it here, I got 10 kills to 1 death, so I mean, it's pretty decent in sim. RB, you can get aces, Is it worth it? Well, the only reason I would get this is for the Mirage 2000, which will probably be under it in the future. But unfortunately, I'm not a big fan of this aircraft. It's good, but it's nothing special. I'd much rather fly the big end. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. I just got over a cold, so sorry if my voice sounds a little weird. But yeah, thanks guys for watching. Tell me guys what you think in the comments down below. Join the Discord, and take care, guys. Also, don't forget to send the subscribe button to Oklahoma. He's gonna love it.